Rebecca Blackmon
is in the house.
That's right. And she's drinking
Sponsored by Alani.
What flavor Alani is that?
Kiwi guava. Big kiwi girl.
I like kiwi guava. Ellie has the Celsius at the house.
Yeah.
And I love them, but every time I drink a Celsius, it just goes straight to my bloodstream. And I can't sit down.
Really?
Like it's 30 minutes of a huge rush. And then it's actually a PED.
Really?
Yeah.
Celsius?
Celsius is, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
It's the guana bean or something like that in it. It gives you like a massive caffeine rush, like the density of caffeine in it.
Interesting. Does this not have it?
I don't know.
I don't either.
It could be a PED.
Maybe this is why I'm such a stellar athlete.
Which, if you were drinking that while you were at Alabama in the $1 Million Band, would that be a problem?
They were not testing us in the $1 Million Band.
You didn't get drug tested?
No.
In the band?
No.
I'm surprised by that. I guess
it would have been a significantly smaller band, I can assure you. Not because of me, but...
I mean, I wonder, like, would it matter if the people in the Nutcracker are doing performance-enhancing drugs? Like, does that... I'm genuinely asking, does that matter?
Does it matter? No. Would it make them better performers? Yes.
Yeah. Okay, this is a totally random question. And
Okay.
We're going to get to the point in a second. But how do we know that the Russian ballet is the best in the world? Like, is there something that we can compare them to? Like, or did we just say they're the best because they're the best?
I guess that they are deemed the best just because a lot of it originated from, like, there are a lot of famous performers that have come from Russia.
Okay.
But there's no, like, there's not, like, ballet in the Olympics or anything.
Yeah.
So there's no real standard.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Good question.
Well, everybody, in case you're wondering what we're talking about, this is not Ellie and Gina. This is a little bit different. This is the Vulcan Performance Edition of the Impetus Health podcast, and I'm here today with Rebecca Blackmon, who is our general manager / president / Rebecca, I need help, and she takes care of it. So, Rebecca, we're going to talk a little bit about her background. She has a fascinating background. She was a dancer in high school and college. She was in the $1 Million Band at Alabama. She has performed in Swan Lake, and she has performed in the Nutcracker.
Pulling out the facts.
Yep. And at some point along the way, she converted from dance to CrossFit. There might have been a little bit of middle ground somewhere in there that we'll talk about. And she has, she went through the whole CrossFit thing. She dabbles in CrossFit now and again.
Still dabble.
Yeah. But she just does all things fitness. So we're going to talk about her story, and we're going to talk a little bit about, really we're going to focus on the fitness journey. And that's what we're going to do here is ask different people of their backgrounds and different things that they've done and figure out what did strength conditioning look like for you and what did fitness look like for you. So, you're from Jackson, Mississippi,
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Mississippi.
So when did you start? What was your first entrance into strength conditioning, and like the earliest memory you have of strength conditioning as a kid?
Oh, not until college.
Really?
Yeah.
So like you didn't pick up a weight, you didn't do anything.
I played no sports, no weight, no nothing.
Okay, so when did you start dancing?
When I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was classical dance or?
Yeah. Ballet, tap, jazz, the whole 9.
Okay.
I did that from the time I started until I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Is there levels to dance? Like there's levels to gymnastics?
Yeah. It's similar.
Okay. What does that look like? I'm not familiar with it.
Everybody starts off on ballet is the real test. Like that's where you can track real progress. So everybody starts off on flat shoes. I don't know if you've seen you've seen
my
some
sister was a dancer.
Yeah,
I get a little bit of it.
Yeah,
but...
okay. And then you have to test into point shoes where you're standing on the wooden box.
Gotcha.
And then there's levels, there's level 1 flat ballet, level 1 point, level 2, all the way up until, every studio is different. I would say it's not universal like gymnastics is. Mm-hmm. Because I think everybody has gymnastics is 10 levels.
Yeah,
right? Everywhere. It's not universal like that. It would be per studio.
Okay, gotcha.
But, yeah.
So what would the level, okay, let's go back to the Russian ballet. What is the ice queen at the Russian ballet? What is her level?
Oh, like the best of the best.
Would that be a 10? Would that be like?
I mean, yeah, if you were comparing it to like gymnastics, it would be like level 10.
But
like,
there's no comparative scale.
Right, no.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense for an aesthetic. Why did you choose dance? Why did you, I guess your parents put you in it, but.
Yeah, I guess my parents started me in it. I don't remember this, but my mom always tells me that she also tried to put me in soccer when I was little, and I used to always come home crying because I didn't want to sweat. Which, if you know me now, like, I see the irony. I know. So I think my mom did put me in dance, but she also tried to put me in sports, and I wanted none of it.
I love that.
None of it.
Okay, well, parents, what you do matters, but your kids can also say, no, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started dancing. When did dance start to become something a little bit more serious?
I think kind of middle school is the point where you have to decide, like, well, I guess this is pretty true for every sport. Like, you get to a certain level where you're like, okay, is this my thing? Mm-hmm. Or, you can't continue to play, like, 5 sports, most people. And so middle school for me, although I wasn't playing other sports, it kind of got to the point where it was like, okay, this is now like an every afternoon kind of thing. It's not just like once or twice a week. It's like, hours every day after school. So is this what I really, really want to spend my time doing?
So 12, 13.
12, 13, 14, yeah.
Okay, got you. So you decided, I guess, to go all in at 12 or 13, or not all in, but you started ramping up.
That's when I knew that, like, I wasn't going to quit.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So you went all in. Was there anything other than going to the dance studio, practicing, doing recitals? Was there any sort of fitness, anything where they tried to do so there's nothing like that?
Yeah, nothing.
At all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I want to come back to that in a second and ask you if there should be something, because there may not need to be anything, or you might think there is. I don't know. Did a lot of girls get injured? Were there a lot of stuff like that going on?
There's a lot of injuries. I think a lot of it was tied to nutrition as well. That's a huge thing in the dance world. I would say more girls than not have eating disorders, or at least disordered eating.
What did that look like when so in middle school, like, you're just figuring out what life is? What did you know girls who were like, this girl doesn't eat, or did you see that? Or what did that look like?
I mean, it's just very that's a hard time to be a girl anyway, right? You're going through puberty, you're in middle school, it's like everything's confusing.
Yeah.
And then you're going to dance practice and you're just wearing these tiny little leotards in front of all these other girls who, maybe they're skinnier than you, maybe they're taller than you, maybe they have the body type better than you. So it's a real comparison game.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, I guess I will ask this, but did you see anyone who, like, they had to quit because on that front things got so bad? Or?
Not early, not like middle school years, but college, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
For sure.
So you're going through it. You're in middle school. You're training through it. I guess you're probably seeing some success in the recitals. I don't know what that looks like. So you're moving up. You get to high school. Mm-hmm. How did you go from not competing in dance in high school, but dancing in high school, to all of a sudden being on Color Guard in the $1 Million Band? How did what does that process look like for a dancer? Did they recruit you, or what does it look like?
Yeah. Well, for me, I was also in the band in middle school. I played the flute.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, and I did that solely because in my middle school and high school, band counted as our PE credit, and I did not want to sweat. I did not want to play sports, and so I was like, yeah, I'll join the band.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I played the flute, and then when I got to 9th grade, my band director, that's, you don't start marching band until high school, or I didn't. My band director knew I was a dancer and was like, hey, if you want to try out for Color Guard, like, I think you'd be a shoo-in. You've got the base, that you need to be good at it. And I was like, okay. In my head, it was just like another opportunity to dance, and I loved dancing. So that's how I kind of transitioned to Color Guard in high school. I did 4 years in high school and then 4 years in college.
So just real quick, for those of you who don't know, what was your all-time deadlift?
395.
So 395 deadlift, and this girl's playing the flute in high school. So you can see the contrast, the comparison and contrast here. Like you kind of turn it on. You definitely sweat a lot for people who know you.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me go back to, so you're in high school, you go through 4 years of color guard, you're playing the flute, and then you go to Alabama. I don't know what that looks like at all. So how did you get to Alabama? Did you know you were going to dance the whole time you went to Alabama? Or
yeah, I went to Alabama to be a dance major. I didn't apply to any other schools. Alabama was the only school I applied to. I knew that's where I was going. And then I got there, and everybody just loved it more than me. And that was the first time in my life that I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't care the most about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's just such a competitive field, professional dancing, that like if you don't love it the most, you will not be successful.
That's good.
Yeah.
So to take that, I guess a lot of professional dancers do end up doing color guard or something like that in college. Like is that a platform they have that?
No, I was the only dance major who did. I would say there's, like at Alabama, there were dance majors who were on the dance team.
Okay.
Which is not the same thing.
Okay. So elaborate then on how could you tell that they wanted it more, that they liked it a lot more than you? How did that look? 'Cause I can see it like playing basketball. Like I can go and it's easier for me to tell this is the guy who loves it because he's in the gym all the time. He's all the time practicing. How could you tell from a dance perspective?
Yeah. There were just girls that were willing to completely give up the normal college experience. Like they would not, I mean, probably for the better, but they like would not be caught dead in a bar. Like wouldn't, we're not eating, we're not, having fun with their friends on the weekends. And I just kind of realized that's not the college experience I wanted for myself.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you know some people who went on and like end up dancing professionally? Oh
yeah, my college roommate was a dance major at Alabama, and she lives in New York now and dances professionally.
Wow. What does she dance like? What is some of the stuff that she does?
She does all kind of stuff. She has done like off-Broadway stuff. Her resume is like incredible.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and she did it in a very healthy way, which is inspiring.
So what, I guess in college at the $1 Million Band when you're dancing, was there any strength conditioning? Was there anything for that?
$1 Million Band, it was just all about just like being skinny. It wasn't like strength training at all. It was just running. Like just go run. You messed up, go run. Oh, you messed up, go run.
Okay.
That was the extent.
Well, I got to ask this question because you have a very interesting story in the weight room at the University of Alabama. You've got to tell what that is, because then I've got to ask, what were you doing in the weight room if you were only running?
Okay, so you want me to say how I got into that?
How did you get to the weight room, and then tell what happened when you were in the weight room?
Okay, so one of the things that like resonated with me the most when I was dancing was I was always told, even like in high school, that I did not have the body type to be a ballerina. I'm like short and stocky. Like I have like wide shoulders. And like really. And these girls are like, 5'10", 5'11" bean poles. Mm-hmm. And
so I got a 395 deadlift.
Yeah. So I just remember being like, okay, if I'm too stocky, I'm going to go get stockier. So once I decided I didn't want to dance, I chose exercise science as my major because I knew I still wanted to be like active. I didn't want to sit behind a desk, which is ironic. So I changed to exercise science, and then my sophomore year of college, I got an internship. We had to have one to graduate in that major, and I got an internship in the weight room, the strength conditioning facility at Alabama.
Okay.
And I worked there for 3 years. So that's why I was in the weight room. And one time, dreadful day.
This is good.
So there were not allowed to be girls in the facility when the football team was practicing, which...
Understandable.
I will keep my comments
totally
to myself.
Understandable.
But
can't distract them boys.
Oh my gosh! But they can play football with cheerleaders on the sideline. In tiny little, silenced him.
Continue the story.
So we weren't allowed to be in there, and I knew that. Obviously, we all knew that. And there was one day where I was skirting. I don't know why. I don't remember why I was late or not where I was supposed to be. But my boss's office was like upstairs, and the whole upstairs is just like all glass windows. And I knew I was not where I was supposed to be, so I sprinted in front of this whole glass wall to try to go get my backpack out of the office so that I could leave the facility. I was trying to do the right thing, people. I was trying. And Nikki Saban was not happy with me. And did I shed a tear? Yes. Yes, I did. I absolutely did. Yeah.
Did he yell at you?
Yes. And I still love him. He's still the GOAT.
So that. Not everybody has a story where Nick Saban yells at them. So that's pretty cool. So let me recap. So let me just give you a picture of Rebecca too. So Rebecca the dancer, Rebecca the flute player, Rebecca on the color guard, Rebecca at Alabama on the color guard, the dance major who converts to an exercise science. You end up graduating with an exercise science degree. Mm-hmm. You got your master's in exercise science?
No, business administration and sports management.
So you have an MBA.
Mm-hmm.
Do you not have a master's too? You have another degree.
Yeah, sports management.
Oh, sports management.
Yeah.
So you have an MBA in both sports management and in...
We'll have a master's in sports management.
Okay, that's what it was.
And then an MBA.
And you can speak French.
Well,
pretty well. Yeah.
Just a little.
That sounds like a lot of French to me. So very well-rounded here with everything. So you're dancing, you're getting yelled at by Saban. You convert to exercise science. Is that when you started working out? Is that when you started getting more into strength conditioning at that point?
Yeah, so when I got my internship in the weight room, mm-hmm. I interviewed, and I will never forget my boss. Her name is Michelle Diltz, and she's still a strength coach at Alabama. She's amazing. And I stood up to leave, and she was like, all right, I'm going to give you the job. I don't really know why, because I don't think you can really pick anything up. But because I was like skinny. Like
you were a dancer.
100 pounds soaking wet. Like skinny.
What?
Yes. I'll have to show you pictures. I was like, wow. So small.
I cannot believe that.
And our first day, we did like an intern games. Mm-hmm. And it was like 10 different like physical fitness tests just to like build camaraderie. There was probably like 10 interns, and we were all just like hanging out and getting to know each other. And one of them was an overhead med ball toss, like behind your head like this.
Yeah.
I had a 10-pound med ball, and I threw it 5 yards.
This is not the same person that I'm sitting in front of right now.
I know.
Wow.
It was terrible. It was pathetic. So, that's when I was like, oh shoot. I'm like, this is not good. How can I be telling these athletes like what to do and how to do it when I have no clue? So
what? Okay, so you were 100 pounds soaking wet. Did you say? Was that you trying to be 100 pounds? Was that easy? Was that you trying to be light for dance or?
No, that was me trying to be.
That was you trying.
Skinny. Yeah.
Okay, so bringing up the nutrition aspect of dance, like. I know it can be bad. Like, mm-hmm. What were some things? Because you've got a few stories that are pretty rough about, like, you talked about the marker and some of that one time. Like, what were some things that you saw from the nutrition aspect? Well, answer me this. This is a big question, I guess. What are some things you saw from the nutrition aspect that stick out in your head? Also from the strength and conditioning aspect. And if you could go back and change things, what could you change from the nutrition, strength and conditioning side of things that you think would be impactful for all dancers? I want to tell you about a squat template that we have on our store online. If you are into strength conditioning, if you are worried about getting stronger, getting more powerful, maybe if you've had an injury and you're trying to recover and rehab, this template is for you. It is called the Vulcan Hatch template, and it is a 5-week template that you can use for any 2 movements. The traditional hatch cycle really incorporates 2 movements, the front squat and the back squat. We have set this up to where you can incorporate bench press, strict press, whichever movements you have. In the cycle, we have it set up for triples, for sets of 5, for sets of 8, for sets of 10. You can set it up for however you want to, but once you have tested your max reps, your max weight, then the template automatically adjusts to the percentages that you need to hit. And I say for rehab as well, because if you're injured, knowing your numbers and staying within a certain discomfort zone can be very helpful when you're going through rehab. It's the Vulcan Hatch Cycle template. You can find it on the Vulcan store and check it out. It is $20, but it's something you can recycle several times. Again, it's a 5-week cycle. I know a lot of folks who do this 4 or 5 times throughout the year, and it's been great for them. So check it out.
Yeah. So nutritionally, obviously there were girls that either just did not eat, never saw them eat, or there were girls who, would eat and binge. That's very common. For me, it was just, and I'm sure a lot of others, it was a complete lack of knowledge about nutrition at all. Yeah. So I was the one who would go into the cafeteria and eat 3 green beans and some a slice of grilled chicken, because I just thought that was okay, I have to be skinny. Yeah. I don't have an eating disorder because I'm still eating, but it's just it's purely about being skinny, looking skinny. It's such a physically demanding activity. And
you're dancing for a long time too. Man, you're running off nothing.
Yeah. And so I think that would be a huge thing if girls could just understand what nutrition is and how what it does for you.
Whose job do you think that is? Do you think that's the dance studio's instructor job, or who do you think, just to give basic stuff hey girls, make sure you're doing XYZ?
Well, frankly, I think it starts at home.
Oh,
my mom doesn't know anything about nutrition.
100%.
So she can't teach me anything about nutrition. I just think that's kind of if you decide you want to have kids, then you should also educate yourself on how to make them healthy and
Amen.
But yeah, I definitely think the teachers and instructors should have done a better job of being hey, this is not healthy, this is not sustainable, it's not worth it in the long run. And then strength and conditioning wise, it's crazy now looking back after lifting and being strong, looking back, how much faster I would have been able to turn, or how much higher I would have been able to leap, or on color guard, how much higher I could have thrown my flag with such ease. Yeah, I wish people could, if I could go back, I would have started weightlifting a lot earlier.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to ask this too. So as a dancer and a color guard, your spatial awareness has to be through the roof. You got to know where you are at all times. You got to know where your flag is at all times. Yeah. I remember when I was one year, my junior year, going into my sophomore year, going into my junior year, playing high school basketball, and played football too. I didn't play football my senior year. So in football, we did a ton of speed and agility stuff all the time. That's what it was. And I remember my junior year, my body control felt so much better. I felt things were snappier. I was quicker. My senior year, I had just grown up a little bit. So I was stronger. I could jump higher, but my movements weren't as crisp, I feel like, because I didn't play football my senior year. What did you notice, from a dance perspective and going into CrossFit, going into some of these other, did you notice a body difference there at all? You may not have. I'm just curious. I guess in your spatial awareness or some of that.
No, not necessarily. I think I'm still extremely spatial aware. Spatially aware. I guess the thing that I noticed the most, which maybe is not quite what you're talking about, but I was so flexible from dancing for so long that when I started CrossFit, I was I don't need to stretch. I don't need to do mobility. I'm too mobile. And now, I can't touch my toes. It's crazy how quickly that changed.
Wow.
So that's definitely something, I wish that I would have continued to do mobility every single day.
The body adapts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest change I noticed, but.
Man, could you tell that story about the marker? That sticks out in my head so much.
I won't say where it was, but I was on a team where we were practicing whenever it was only the girls, and we had closed rehearsal. We were allowed to take our shirts off and practice in shorts and sports bras. Mm-hmm. And we were running a drill, and our instructor was chasing girls with a Sharpie. And she would draw a circle on their stomach and be this jiggles when you run. Which hello, skin moves, skin jiggles.
Oh my goodness.
Well, when you're a teenage girl, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm disgusting.
Oh my goodness.
I'm jiggly.
I bet people just went and threw up.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is miserable.
Yeah.
That
stuff actually happens.
Man, that sticks out in my head from when you told me that. It's just like, wow. Because, I mean, my sister was a dancer. And, I mean, just seeing her, I mean, she stopped dancing when she was 12 or 13. And just seeing that age group of girls, like, man, like, they were already very aware of any inefficiency they had in their body.
Yeah.
And you could just tell when you would take them out, like, you'd go eat at a Mexican restaurant and, like, they'd order this big plate of food and it would just be pushed around and not touched.
No one touched it.
Yeah, it's brutal. All right, so 100-pound Rebecca starts doing, was it CrossFit or did you start working out?
So initially I just started doing strength and conditioning, like sport-based strength and conditioning. Okay. Which is so funny. I was like very anti-CrossFit because I was like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with the textbooks that I'm reading. But actually it's probably like the best way I personally could have gone about it because I was starting from literally zero. Mm-hmm. So I spent a couple of years just building a foundation of like purely just get stronger and get more like in tune with muscles.
So what did that look like? What'd you do?
A lot of, so I learned how to Olympic lift.
You did that? That's
yeah. I mean, all the sports at Alabama Olympic lift. I mean, I shouldn't say all the sports. A lot of the sports.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was an intern who worked with me who, before he moved to Alabama to be an intern, was an Olympic weightlifter in New York. So he taught me, like, man, just with an empty barbell over and over and over and over and over.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So learn that. Powerlifting, obviously, just for strength. And then, I don't know, I guess I just kind of dabbled in everything because I knew nothing. And so there would be days where, like, my boss would be like, okay, this is the workout that softball did today, now you go do it. So that you can know, like, what they're feeling and what they're, you know. And in my time there, I worked with every sport, I guess, except football and baseball. So, like, some random swim and dive workouts and some random basketball stuff. And,
that's so cool.
It was really fun.
Oh, Ellie would love that. That's her.
Yeah,
she'd love that
she
stuff.
would.
So I know you're doing this stuff, and your body's got to be changing. Like you've got to see some big changes here because you're naturally strong. Like you're genetically strong. So thinking about you at 100 pounds is so hard because I've seen you in the gym, and you're just so naturally strong. Yeah. And you've got a naturally, like you said, stocky. I wouldn't say you have a stocky build, but you have like a I don't know, like a stronger build to you. Yeah. So when you started seeing your body, your body's just craving strength. So as soon as you started trying to, I bet it started adapting fast. So when you saw that, were you okay with it, or you were like,
no, I struggled for a while. Just because, you go from being I weigh probably 145 now, so I've put on a solid 40 pounds.
Of muscle, like that's of muscle.
Well,
yeah.
Sometimes.
Of muscle.
But I do love little Debbie's. But yeah, that's not a small amount of weight for a girl. And even like after being healthy and like working so hard on like food and I'm fueling my body, I'm getting stronger. When you step on a scale and you see like, oh shoot, I have gained 40 pounds. Like, obviously, there's some internal panic, but...
Oh, yeah. And how long did it take you to get to... What was your first, like, stabilizing weight after you started working out and stuff?
135.
How fast did you get to 135 when you started doing all this?
In, like, maybe 2 years.
Wow. So,
like, very quickly. Yeah.
So when you saw your old like dancing buddies and people who you still did they like what in the who are you?
Yeah.
Like
everyone was just like, wow, you look healthy. I did get that comment a lot. You look healthy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going. I mean, that's a heck of a way to learn. I love that. Just hand you a softball workout and say go do it. That's so cool. What were some of the things that you picked up then, because I guess you're seeing all the sports, you're seeing a lot of different sports. So this might be a hard question to ask, but what was a common theme you saw in a lot of the different sports that you were working in from a strength conditioning perspective? What were the things that were the pillars that these Alabama strength conditioning coaches put in everything?
In everything.
Like, was everybody deadlifting? You said everybody Olympic lifted, or most sports Olympic lifted?
Most sports Olympic lifted. Definitely every sport is deadlifting and squatting. There's variations. Obviously not all of them are out there deadlifting with barbells and bumper plates, but variations of that. And then definitely a lot of power output for every sport.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, that sport in general is just power output by far. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're doing this. When did you get into CrossFit, and how did it happen?
My junior year of college, I had been interning in the weight room for like a year and a half, vehemently opposed to CrossFit. And there was an intern, his name is Jake King. He's the CrossFit guy at Nexus.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Jake coached at RTR in Tuscaloosa the whole time that we interned together. And man, he would not, like, every day he was like, hey, when are you going to come do a CrossFit workout? When are you going to come do a CrossFit workout? And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go do a CrossFit workout, and I'm going to just prove how stupid it is. I don't know how I thought I was going to do that. But it was Murph, and it absolutely floored me. Like, I got run over with a Mack truck in Tuscaloosa that day. And that's when I was like,
What was your time?
Well over an hour. And I couldn't do a pull-up. I had to do I couldn't do kipping pull-ups, so I did banded strict pull-ups. Couldn't do a push-up. I was on my knees. But then, of course, the competitive part of me was like, dang, now I have to do that again. Now I'm going to have to do it faster.
That's the thing about it. You go in and you suck, and then you realize, like, I want to do that again. It's so weird, so twisted.
Yep.
So did you start going to RTR after that?
No, I just worked out in the weight room. But after that, Jake programmed for me and one other intern. We did, like, CrossFit in the weight room together every day.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you were just all in. So after you started, how much did you weigh when you first started in CrossFit? And how old were you?
So I would have been like 20, 19 or 20.
Okay.
And at that point, I was probably like 130. I mean, I was probably pretty close to fighting weight.
When did you get to 145? How long after doing CrossFit did you get to 145?
Let's see, in 2020.
So not that long.
Worked with Ellie. Yeah.
Oh,
it was Ellie. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Worked with Ellie. Maybe 2019, because that's when I was at the peak of my competitive days.
You held that peak for a while, though. You were there for a long time.
Yeah, I did compete for a long time. But I told Ellie my goal was just to get stronger and lean. Obviously, you want to get stronger and you want to lose body fat, which is like, we'll let Ellie do a podcast on that. But I was with her for about 6 months and put on an extra 10 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Was she just packing up the protein or what?
Yeah. Significantly more protein. And then I was eating like 375 grams of carbs. Actually, the carbs were, like, astronomical.
Wow.
I love me some pasta.
Yeah. I remember the first time I met, not the first time I met Ellie, but the first time I saw the back of Ellie's car, a long time ago, and when we were just dating, and it was, if you know anything about Ellie's car, it is rough. But in the back of her car, she had this giant container of just powdered carbs.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I want to eat my carbs, but she could not get the amount of carbs in. And then she would take 2 scoops. And I'm like, good night. But
mine was the protein. I have no problem eating my carbs. I ate all of my carbs, but my protein I had to drink. I still have to drink a lot of protein.
Yeah.
I was a vegetarian until I was 16. And so I don't I'm not a big meat girl.
Oh, I forgot you saying that. Yeah.
Not a big.
Yeah. So interesting. So what are the meats that you'll eat now?
red meat, ground beef.
Okay.
I'll eat chicken. Chicken gives me such an ick if I see it raw. I cannot look at raw chicken. I can't touch raw chicken.
Was it being a vegetarian something your parents did and that kind of cascaded to you, or was that you choosing that?
Yeah, my mom was, and she
Okay.
still really doesn't eat a lot of meat. But when I was 16, this boy that I had a crush on forever asked me on a date and took me to Chick-fil-A. And I was like, oh my God, I can't tell him I don't eat chicken. So I had the Lord's chicken on that first date.
How was it?
It changed my life,
It was-
obviously. Now I'm not a vegetarian.
So we had our like a Vulcan Christmas party the other night, and we're asking everybody what they want, and I have no idea about Christmas traditions or anything like that. And Rebecca said, I want some Conecuh sausage. Miss Mississippi over here. I'm like, Conecuh sausage I didn't realize that was like a festive thing, but apparently it's a festive thing. But so I know you eat Conecuh too.
I do love sausage. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of your fitness journey. You do CrossFit. You competed in CrossFit for 2 years. Like you competed hardcore. Was it about 2 years that you really?
Maybe 3.
3 years. 3 years you were really competitive. It was you and you had your crew that y'all always worked out together.
My crew, what were we? The Goof Troop.
The Goof Troop.
The Goof Troop.
And
shout out.
The rats, the sewer rats.
Yeah, the sewer rats and the grub worms is what I was told that I looked like, but I won't say by who.
All right, so you did that, and I want to ask you quick, because I mean, I'm a physical therapist. I think I saw you for PT for something. Was it a back issue? A hip issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So from dance to just pure strength conditioning in a sports format to CrossFit, what were some of the injuries that you commonly had, and what was the worst of all of them, if you can remember?
The most severe, I fractured my spine in college.
That's pretty rough.
But I have no idea how it happened. No idea. My back just was like hurting, and it just kind of didn't stop hurting. And I finally went to the doctor, and they were like, yeah, you fractured your spine. And I was like, oh. So it's not a cool story.
Was that while dancing or?
Color guard.
It was color guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell you how it happened. I don't know.
What'd they do for you? They tell you to?
I was supposed to. They just told me to stop.
Did you stop?
No.
Okay. It just got better.
Yeah, it just got better. And then I guess with you, I dealt with hip impingement. I think it was hip impingement.
Yeah, I do that now.
Definitely the biggest thing transitioning from like dance to weightlifting and just being like naturally pretty strong is my muscles got stronger, I think, a lot faster than my joints did. And so I definitely dealt with like a lot of joint pain in general when I competed, which I mean is probably fairly common in CrossFit, but
yeah,
hip and shoulder.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder from dancers going from a malnourished state, you're young, so your body's so adaptable and it can recover quick, but going from a malnourished state to really a strength conditioning format that if you're doing sport-specific strength conditioning stuff, like a lot of power training, you're doing a lot of pounding in general.
Yeah.
I wonder if, maybe having some, I hesitate to say osteopenia or osteoporosis because of how malnourished you were. Surely you're so young. Surely for some girls, I can see if you're genetically predisposed to it, I could see that. But going from that into CrossFit pretty quickly, I wonder if that had anything to do with it, just because your body's just so malnourished for so long. When did you learn how to eat? Because you started doing strength conditioning. When did you finally figure that out? To some, in general, when did you learn how to do it?
So probably not until I had my first job, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I got a job. My first job out of college was I started coaching at Iron Tribe in Tuscaloosa, and that was probably the first time that I was like, oh shoot,
wow,
I'm doing this really wrong.
Because you saw somebody else eating, like you saw the people doing it?
We taught, like, I don't know if it's still the same, but when I was there, I mean, this was 9 years ago, you go through like a 101 when you join, and one of the weeks, like one of the lectures after the 101 was nutrition, and so I had to learn the nutrition lecture to give it to other people, and I remember reading it and being like, oh
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I've worked with Ellie too, and when I worked with Ellie, it's so cool to see this, but I thought I was eating well. I thought I was doing all this stuff, and I worked with her, and she literally asked me to eat more, which is really common from talking with her. And I was tracking my macros. I did everything else the same, and I saw my body composition change exactly how I wanted it to.
Yeah.
When you started eating well, and you can even talk about when you started working with Ellie, how did you see your body comp change? And like did you see that quickly? That happened with me. Did you see your body start changing a lot, or?
You know, for me, I was already pretty lean when I started with Ellie, and so I didn't physically see a lot of change, which can be discouraging, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But she made me take a progress picture every week or 2 weeks, or I don't know how. And at the end of the 6 months, you know, I put my first picture right by my second picture, and I looked almost the exact same in the picture, but I had gained 10 pounds. So that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like that is straight up 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Because it did not present in fat in any way.
And that's just your genetic. Like that's so genetic. Like I give Rebecca a hard time because she eats a roll and she gets an ab. I eat a roll and I get a third love handle. Yeah. So, yeah. So, okay. So you've done all this. What are some, I guess, what is your, about on CrossFit? Or not on CrossFit, I guess just in strength conditioning in general. What would you say is something that strength conditioning, fitness, has added to your life that you don't think you could have gotten from any other format?
I think, oh man, that's hard. That's like it changed my life.
Yeah.
In every capacity, like my job, like the path I thought my life was gonna go changed completely when I started strength and conditioning. But I guess the biggest thing would just be like learning what is actually healthy and what is sustainable versus like, oh, just don't eat. That's, you know, that's what you need to do to be good at your sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a complete overhaul of like mindset has been the biggest thing.
That's good. And I think it's funny for our generation in particular, once we get into strength conditioning or functional fitness or CrossFit, HIIT, whatever it is, it's for a little while we get obsessed. Yes. For a little while, like I'm the same way too. Like, and I think that's a lot of our generation. Whereas generations before us, they either didn't work out or they did it a little bit just to kind of stay in shape. No, we millennials, some Gen Zers, we just attacked it and it consumed us. And I think a lot of us do that for a while, and then we start to figure out, okay, how do I have a work-life healthy balance here?
How is this sustainable?
Yeah, so if you're into strength conditioning, you probably have a similar story like that where you just got into it and you couldn't stop. Yeah. So now we're on the challenge of how do I do this and live a life at the same time? Yeah. Yeah. So we're about to wrap it up. Any, I guess, parting thoughts that you want to say, but also if you had to tell someone, a dancer, it could be anybody, dancer, anybody in strength conditioning. If you could tell them anything right now, what would you tell them as it relates to strength conditioning and fitness? Do you have any wisdom you'd like to drop?
First of all, get your nutrition straight. It is not normal to restrict your eating to that degree. Don't do it. And man, just start early. Like I think one of the things we're seeing now in sports in today's world is like these kids are 4 years old playing like travel baseball and whatever, and then by the time they're 18 they either hate it or they're injured or they've, you know, who knows what. Quit making your kids specialize in a sport when they're 5. Let them do whatever, touch all the things and play all the instruments and, you know, whatever, and build them a foundation in strength and conditioning. Like, teach them how to, take them somewhere to see someone who can teach them how to lift weight. And then when they're in middle school and high school, they can play their sport and they can stay healthy and they can enjoy it and they can excel because they have a foundation to do so. Yeah. That's good. What I think.
Parents, it comes down to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was good.
You're so welcome.
We'll have Rebecca back on. We'll talk about some other topics. But if you have any questions about dancing or anything, just reach out to me. I will give you her personal number, and you can reach. All right, guys. We will see you later. Thanks, Becca.
Bye.